Welcome back to Human Centered Customer Experience Podcast. I'm your host, and today we're going to pop a very expensive, very colorful balloon that has been floating around corporate boardrooms for the last decade. I want to start by asking you a question. Yes, you. Have you ever sat in a modern glass wall conference room looking at a giant screen displaying a customer journey map? It's beautiful, isn't it? It's got swirling arrows, smiling stock photo personas. Let's call one Savvy Sarah or Digital Dave, and a smooth, undulating line showing their emotional state going from curious to delighted. You look at this map and think, wow, if we build this, we will dominate the market. Then, 6 months later, the initiatives launch, and it's fine. It's okay, but it's definitely not that map. Customers are still complaining about the same old friction points. The call center is still swamped. If that sounds familiar, nod your head. I know you are. Today, we are talking about why that happens. We're talking about the massive disconnect between the front stage experience we design and the backstage operational reality that actually powers it. We're going to discuss why most organizations are hallucinating about their customer experience and why you cannot design a 21st century journey on 20th century infrastructure. Stick around. It's time for a reality check. We live in the age of customer obsession. You can't scroll through LinkedIn for 30 seconds without a CEO proclaiming their undying devotion to the user. And don't get me wrong, this is a good thing. The intent is noble. We should understand what the customer wants. If you're working at a telecom company, you need to know that your customer's end goal isn't interacting with BSS or OSS billing stack. Some jargons. Their goal is to stream the season finale of their favorite show in 4K on their phone while sitting on a train without it buffering. That's the end goal. So companies hire brilliant experience designers, user experience researchers, and service designers. These folks are trained experts in empathy. They are the advocates for the user. They go out, they interview customers, and they come back with these incredible artifacts, the journey maps, the personas. They paint a picture of a frictionless future state. And here is where my opinion might ruffle some feathers, but I've seen this too many times to ignore it. I believe that in many organizations, these design artifacts have become dangerous distractions. Why dangerous? Because they are seductive. They represent the world as we wish it was, not as it is. It's like walking onto a Hollywood movie set. You see a beautiful Victorian street. It looks authentic. It looks solid. But if you walk around the back of the building, what do you see? Plywood, 2x4s, and a duct tape holding the facade together. In corporate world, the journey map is the movie set facade. The designers are doing their job. They are visualizing the ideal front stage experience, but too often they're doing it in a vacuum, completely disconnected from the messy, rusty, tangled backstage reality of the company's actual operation. Let me give you a real world example from telecom industry. There was this grand vision for a unified digital experience. The idea was simple. A customer should be able to add a new line to their family plan via the app in 3 taps, just the 3 taps. The design team produced a gorgeous prototype. Tap 1, select the plan. Tap 2, add user. Tap 3, confirm. Done. The executive team gave it a standing ovation. It looked like Apple. It felt like magic. Super simple. Then they handed these beautiful screens to the engineering and IT operations team, and the room went dead silent. Why? Because the designers were looking at the world through one lens, the customer lens. The IT team was looking at the world through the company lens. To make those 3 taps happen, here is what had to happen in the background. The app had to talk to a middleware layer, which had to query a 20-year-old mainframe billing system that only accepted batch processes at 2 a.m. in the morning. Then it had to ping a separate inventory system for the SIM card, which didn't have a real time API. Then it had to run a credit check through a third party vendor. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 credit checks. The reality was, if a customer tapped those 3 buttons at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, a ticket was generated in a queue somewhere, and a human being in a back office had to manually swivel chair between 3 different screens to provision the service. The best case scenario wasn't instant. It was maybe by tomorrow after. Beautiful journey map was a fantasy because the operational plumbing was completely corroded. This brings us to the core concept I want you to visualize today. I call it the fragmentation gap. Imagine a split screen. On the top half, you have the glowing, seamless line from your journey map. The customer is happy, moving around towards their goal. On the bottom half, separated by a thick, jagged line, is the reality of your business. It's a tangled mess of rusty gears, overflowing file cabinets, systems that don't talk to each other, siloed data pools, and frustrated employees trying to hold it all together with spreadsheets. That gap between the top half and the bottom half is where your customer experience goes to die. And I'm not just being cynical here. The data backs this up. McKinsey has famously reported, and they've reiterated this across several studies over the years, that nearly 70% of digital transformations fail to achieve their stated goals. 70%, just think of it. Think about the billions of dollars wasted in that 70%. Why do they fail? They rarely fail because the idea was bad. They fail because organizations focus on the digital veneer, the pretty app, the nice website, without addressing the foundational processes and systems underneath. You cannot just paint over rust and expect the car to run like new. Let's look at another industry where this fragmentation gap used to be enormous: financial services, fintech, especially getting a mortgage. Think back 10 or 15 years ago. How did banks try to digitize the mortgage experience? They took their paper application form, which was 20 pages long, and they turned it into a 20-page PDF you could download from their website. They looked at the process through a single lens. How do we put our current process on the internet? From the customer's point of view, nothing changed. You still had to print it, sign it, scan it, find 20 other documents, pay stubs, tax returns, all of those things, and upload them into a black hole. Behind the scenes, the bank's process was identical. A human underwriter would download your 20 attachments, print them out, put them in a manila folder, and then manually key the data into a green screen terminal from the 1980s. The result? A 45-day waiting period to find out if you could buy a house. That is a massive fragmentation gap. Now look at what progressive fintech companies and smart incumbents did more recently. They adopted a systems thinking approach. They didn't just ask, what does the customer want? They asked, what internal data and systems must change to deliver what the customer wants? Now, listen to the difference in this new approach. The customer lens, the customer wants to know, can I afford this house right now? Their desired action is, I consent to share my financial data to get an instant answer. On the other hand, the company lens, or the operational response, is it okay to deliver that? We cannot use PDFs. We need to build API integrations to payroll providers like ADP. We need real-time connections to the IRS for tax transcriptions. We need an automated rules engine that can calculate debt to income ratios in milliseconds, not days. They didn't design a better form. They engineered a better process. The improved experience wasn't a result of better colors on the website. It was the direct result of deep operational transformation. They closed the fragmentation gap. Now, I want you to pause for a moment and think about your own company. Where's your biggest fragmentation gap right now? Is it in onboarding of a customer? Is it in the customer support down the line? Think about the last time you as a customer had a terrible experience. Maybe you called an airline, you entered your frequent flyer number in the automated system 3 times. And then when a human finally picked up, what was the first thing they asked you? Can I have your frequent flyer number, please? That right there, that's the gap, the front stage. Voice menu isn't passing data to the backstage agent desktop. It's a tiny example of a massive structural failure. Okay, enough doom and gloom. We know the problem. We have beautiful maps pointing to places our infrastructure can't take us. So, how do we fix it? If you're a leader listening to this, whether you're in the C suite, running an operations team, or leading a design department, here's my challenge to you. You need to stop accepting journey maps that don't show the plumbing. You need to shift from just customer journey mapping to service blueprinting or service design. Now, some of you designers know exactly what I'm talking about, and you're cheering. For the rest of you, here's the difference. A journey map usually focuses on the customer's actions, thoughts, and feelings. It stays on the front stage. A service blueprint goes deeper, on the other hand. Picture diagram with horizontal swim lanes. The top lane is the customer action, customer clicks, upgrade. Right below that, you draw a line. We call this the line of visibility. Everything above it, the customer sees. Everything below it, they don't. Below that line, you have to map out the backstage actions. What is the employee doing? What is the system doing? Which database is being queried? If your design team brings you a concept for a seamless new feature, your first question should be, show me the blueprint. Show me what happens below the line of visibility. And if they say, the tech team will figure that out later, you have to stop the train right there. Later means never. Later means 70% failure rate, a huge risk. This requires a massive cultural shift. It means we have to break down the walls between the creatives and the suits, or the business and IT. And if you're a designer listening to this, I know it's more fun to design happy paths in Figma. It is depressing to hang out in the server room with the enterprise architects talking about API gateway limitation. But if you want your designs to actually exist in the real world, you have to get your hands dirty in the operational machinery. And if you're an operations or IT leader, you have to invite the designers in earlier. Don't wait until the requirements are written in stone. Bring them in to understand why the current process is so painful for the user. Let their empathy for the customer fuel your motivation to fix the rusty pipes. True experience innovation isn't design, it's engineered. It's a marriage of empathy and efficiency. And here's my final, perhaps controversial take on this. If your company is spending millions on chief experience officer and a massive design team, but you're starving your core operations and IT infrastructure of budget, you're just performing innovation theater. You're building a really nice facade on a condemned building. Experience cannot be improved without transforming processes, systems, and data, period. It is hard work. It is unsexy work. It doesn't look good on a PowerPoint slide in a boardroom, but it is the only work that actually matters in the long run. To wrap this up, let's go back to that beautiful journey map in the glass conference room. The next time you see one, I want you to be the person who raises their hand and asks the uncomfortable question. This looks amazing. But what needs to break and be rebuilt backstage to make this real? Demand the system's thinking lens. Look at it from the customer's view and look at it from the operational reality. If those two views don't align, you don't have a strategy. You have a wish list. I want to hear from you on this. This is a topic that gets people fired up. Are you a designer frustrated by operational roadblocks? Or are you an ops person tired of designers proposing impossible things? Send me a message on LinkedIn or email. Tell me your horror stories of the fragmentation gap. I'd love to listen to it. Let's keep this conversation going because closing that gap is the biggest business challenge of our time. Thanks for listening to the Human-Centered CX. Until next time, keep it real.